Hey, all. I wanted to show you a website that could help with your poetry collection to add more poems in case you are new to poetry and you don't really know where to go. Um, so, the Poetry Foundation is an amazing resource. The physical location is in Chicago. It's been around for over 100 years, I believe. Um, and they have a ton of different things. So, I'm just going to get to it. I'm going to show you the website so that you can navigate it. Um, all right, so here we go. So when you click on the Poetry Foundation page, there's a bunch of different things you could look at. They do a great job of coming up with culturally important poems for whatever's happening right now. So we're in the middle of Pride Month, so there's a lot about Pride and the LGBTQ plus community. So they have essays, for instance. Like if you were to click here, here's an essay, usually by working poets or editors, and it's just a fantastic way to learn new stuff. They also have um, Poetry Off the Shelf, which is like a audio podcast. They have another podcast that is really awesome because what it does is it interviews a poet and they read a poem or two and then they talk about it. So it's really short. It's like 15 minutes. And full disclosure, my friend actually is in it. So, uh, I am a little biased, but I really like it. So you can go to listen if you want to find that. They also have great audio poems. So if you wanted to listen to an audio poem, you can just, click on one. And when you're on the page, you'll have this bar. You can also go to the full text and it'll have a little play button and that'll take you to the
This comes from reading a lot of Terence McKenna. He wrote poets.
It's really nice. You can hear the poet read it in their own voice. You can also click on the poet, and if they have a bio, it'll pull up their bio. So it's a great way to get to know people. All the poems are there. So again, if you go back to listen, there's a poem of the day. There's the Poetry Magazine podcast, which is what I was just talking about. So again, like 17 minutes for that one. Let's see, 10 minutes for this one. So it's basically like the editors get together and discuss the poem. So it's really great. If you want to just look at poems, there's a couple different things you can do. You can go to poems and you can go to poets. So by poets, you can just search by names. So let's say in the book you really liked a Gertrude Stein poem. You can click on it, and again, you can look at all poems at the bottom. And it also gives her like context for who the poets are and what makes them like important or worth looking at. So yeah, as you can see, Gertrude Stein has a lot of poems. You can click on any of these and find more. And I like this if you know the authors, but like I think a lot of you might feel intimidated by that. So my recommendation would be to go to Poems. And if you go to Poems, the homepage, they have a couple on here if you just wanted to find one. I was looking at the subjects because if I'm like kind of in the mood for something different, I might go to like, I don't know, mythology and folklore, right? And then I can find poems based on that. There's also a bunch of choices at the bottom. So if I'm like, oh, I really like poems about ghosts, right? I can click that. And it'll take me to all the ones that have that tag, which is pretty great. So there's a bunch of newer ones. There's a bunch of older ones. I really like this website for that. You can also go to the page to visit the Poetry Foundation, which I highly recommend. They have a library that you can like go in and pick some books out and read them there. It's a gorgeous space. They always have stuff going on. But yeah, I highly recommend looking at their events. They have a bunch of like really important people reading there on like a weekly or monthly basis. As you can see, there's workshops, there's summer camps, there's a book club. But I really love the Chicago focus. Again, this is in our city. And there's also special hours and different forms, like different things that they talk about. Sometimes it's culture related, sometimes it's more poetry focused, but it's all very relevant to what we'll be talking about in class. And you can even search things up here, which is great. They also have, a Facebook and Twitter page and everything else. The only other thing I might recommend looking at is the Harriet blog or the Prose Home Point. We'll get to that in a sec. The Harriet blog is really cool. So what they do is every once in a while they'll get a poet to post once a day for a month. And so some poet will come by and post things about, what they're up to, what they're working on. And it's really great if you want to know kind of what the working life of a poet is. I highly recommend it. And it's really relevant to what's happening right now, right? So like Joy Harjo was just appointed as U.S. Poet Laureate, so it's got that. Kevin Killian, unfortunately, died recently, so it's got some of his stuff. And it'll point you to other really great resources like Jacket 2, which is a magazine that's really great. Actually, one of my former mentors is working at their blog coming up soon. But it's really great. This is another great resource for interviews and commentaries and stuff like that. I highly recommend it. Well, that's crazy. You never know what you're going to find, right? But yeah, Jacket 2 is a great resource. And then if you go to the Prose Home, this is where you'll have poets talking about poetry. So this is really important. Poetics is a really huge part of poetry, especially now, is poets talking about their work and what it means. So they also have poem guides, which are really great. So like Wilfred Owen was a soldier in World War I, and this kind of explains what he was talking about and what he was interested in. So I highly recommend these things. There's so much to learn here. The Poetry Foundation is a great website. You can even sign up for their newsletter or get their magazine. Their magazine comes out every month and highlights really important contemporary poems that are, these poets are alive. They're here. They're not just dead white dudes. So it's really great to see like the diversity in the book, but it's also great if you want to know what's going on in poetry right now. So sometimes they'll have some sample ones, but you can also buy the issue. It's really cheap, honestly. So it's a great resource. Yeah, so that's the Poetry Foundation. Highly recommend it. If you want me to do any other videos on poetry resources, let me know. But yeah,